Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Confronting Evil. Tonight, it seems we finally get on the road with the twin duo back together again. Though, what consequences may follow, we'll have to wait and see. So get ready to hit the trail on intrigue, fear, and one hell of a good ride with tonight's episode of Confronting Evil.
Lightning flashed in the darkness that surrounded her, but there was no thunder. There was never any sound, and if not for the streaks of vibrant energy that lit up the void, there would be no light either. The girl could not move. No matter how hard she struggled, she could not scream, no matter how much she tried, and even though she prayed for salvation, she knew there would be none. Then he appeared, her only companion in this void of deprivation, her only company while she endured his ritualistic machinations. The thing leaned over Mackenzie, its one red eye gleaming through the darkness around him, his form only lit up infrequently by the lightning that streaked across an empty black sky. She knew what would come next. It was the only thing she was allowed to feel, able to feel. She could see the thing's teeth in the strobe-like lighting, his features grinning more and more with each subsequent flash. She knew the pain that would ensue, but she refused to give the thing the satisfaction of her begging or pleads for release. Instead, Mackenzie spit up and at the thing, but it only smiled wider, holding its extended clawed hand outward toward her abdomen, connecting the two with a brilliant and burning light that pulled at Mackenzie's insides, and it was absolutely agonizing. Mackenzie eventually screamed, as she always did, but her voice made no sound, not in this place. The thing smiled as it did as it pleased, knowing Mackenzie would be unable to die, no matter how much pain it caused her. Mackenzie lost sense of time, sense of spatial awareness, losing everything except for who she was, tough as iron and unwilling to yield without an unending fight. Still, she had no clue how long she had been in this place. Maybe a month, maybe a year, maybe longer still. She knew that no one would be coming for her. The red-eyed thing ceased what it was doing, collecting a brilliant energy that it held within its giant clawed hand, once ebon black, but now resonating with a light blue pulsating glow. The thing walked away as it always did, to do whatever it was that it needed, but always returned to perform the action again, leaving Mackenzie with very little, if any, respite at all. It would be back from the shadow, and soon. Then there was a booming noise, something Mackenzie hadn't heard in a very long time. In that instant, she saw a simultaneous bright flash that shocked her into sitting up, screaming.
What?
Seth yelled as he sat up in the front seat of the car. It was now bright outside, which would normally signal to Seth that it was time to get back on the road, and though he wasn't sure what had awoken him at first, Seth paid no mind to the sun or to what it was that startled him out of sleep. Instead, Seth instantly turned towards the back seat to his left, holding his breath as he did. What he saw made him want to scream out for joy and call his mother, or even just to speak. But Seth did none of these things. Seth's eyes filled with tears as his words hitched in his throat, paralyzed by the sight of Mackenzie's eyes staring back at his.
Seth, is that really you?
Mackenzie was the first to speak.
Oh my god, Kenzie? You're awake!
Seth exclaimed, and before Mackenzie could say anything in return, Seth leaned his torso over the back seat and wrapped his arms around his twin sister tightly. Mackenzie lifted her arms and softly hugged him back.
Is this real? Are you real, Seth?
Mackenzie whispered, shakily.
Yes, sis. I'm real. I'm right.
Seth began, but was cut short when Mackenzie squeezed him back more tightly than he was squeezing her.
How, Seth? How did I?
Mackenzie began, but was cut off when Seth ceased his hug, leaning back with his hands firmly on her shoulders.
Can we skip that for right now, Mackenzie? I'll explain in a minute. How are you feeling? Are you okay? You're not craving brains or anything weird, are you?
Well, maybe a BLT.
You just got back and you're thinking about food? Anyone else, I'd say it's strange. But you... Yeah, you're fine.
Seth joked.
Shut up, dweeb. Do you know how long it's been since I've eaten? Actually, I don't. How long has it been since I've eaten? Feels like forever.
Well, it hasn't been that long. But you were gone for about 4 months, Kens. Wait. You didn't eat that whole time. What happened to you in there?
Seth prodded.
No, it's time you answered me now.
Mackenzie said as she scanned the Torino.
Glad you fixed up the car, Seth. Got her running like I knew you would. But Seth, why is there mud all over my baby?
Mackenzie said with a bit of a growl as she eyed the now dry dirt caked all over the interior as a result of Seth's battle at Locust Lake the night before. Seth knew, though, that he couldn't tell her the truth. Locust Lake was a bit of a sore spot for his family.
I needed a portal in a place where one had been opened. So I went back to the Devil's Punch Bowl and...
You did what?
Mackenzie asked aggressively.
Everything's fine. Listen, Kens, you gotta lighten up on the fast food. I slipped carrying you to the car, and that's how I got mud all over myself. I would have wiped it off, but I thought I heard police sirens and I didn't want to stick around.
Mackenzie eyed her brother, scanning his face for tells of lies. But Seth was great at poker and didn't let on one iota that he wasn't telling the whole truth.
Okay, so what now? What's happened since I've been gone? I see it's just you and no one else. Seth, so... Mom and Huck weren't in on your little scheme. Guessing everyone but you said their goodbyes.
Mackenzie asked her brother, and Seth said nothing.
Well, was the funeral nice at least? Mackenzie
asked as she climbed over the seat and into the front.
You're such an ass.
A dweeb? I'm driving.
You just got...
Seth tried to argue his point of Mackenzie needing her rest, but once the loud J-pop music came through Seth's iPod and the car's speakers, Mackenzie's angry stare and disapproving expression halted him before he started.
What?
Seth asked with a shrug.
Really, Seth? Firstly, get out of my driver's seat. And second, take this thing with you.
Mackenzie said, pulling the iPod from the car and handing it to Seth, who was now climbing out of the driver's seat. Seth turned the corner around the back to get to the passenger side of the Torino, but stopped to glance at the shadow he thought he saw lurking out of the corner of his eyes. Upon looking, he saw it to be just the way light casts shade in the forest nearby, but the shadow it created reminded Seth of his own dream before awakening, the nightmare Mackenzie had rescued him from, the man with a gleaming red eye, giving chase, and always right next to him when he turned to look.
Come on, Seth. You coming or what?
Mackenzie yelled out the driver's side window as she beeped the horn. Seth returned his focus to the car and where he was headed. He hadn't had a dream like that in a really long time, but under the circumstances, it seemed almost expected. Still, he was too happy to have his sister back with him to trouble her with petty things. Seth climbed into the car next to his sister.
So where are we headed in such a hurry?
Food, Seth. I'm freaking starving.
Still only thinking about stuffing your face? Yep, you're definitely feeling like your own self, that's for sure.
Bro, I haven't eaten for... How long did you say? 4 months? Yeah, I'm hungry.
Okay, fair enough.
Seth responded. Seth wasn't all wrong. It was indeed Mackenzie that he had retrieved from whatever that place was. But Mackenzie was feeling far from being like her old self. She didn't know if she'd ever truly feel the way she used to, again. But she didn't want to burden her brother, and he had just saved her from an eternity of torment after all, and had likely missed her considerably. Mackenzie started the car and tuned the radio to some classic 80s rock before pulling out onto the road, trying her best to forget that awful place, at least long enough for her to find a good sub shop along the way back home.
Hi, I'll take a BLT with provolone, onions, and banana peppers. And, sub out the mayo for ranch, would you?
Mackenzie ordered at the counter.
My God, Mackenzie, that's not even a BLT anymore.
Seth said in shock.
No, it's not, dweeb. It's the BLTMS, bacon, lettuce, tomato, Mackenzie style.
That doesn't even make sense.
It does to me. Besides, I've never said anything when I've ordered these before.
Yeah, well, you never named it before.
Sure I have. You just weren't listening.
Mackenzie quipped. Seth smiled, more than happy to put up with his sister's antics again, and simply ordered his own garden-fresh salad. The siblings got their meals and sat in the Torino to eat them, each one happy to finally be sharing a meal with the other again. Seth told Mackenzie all about her funeral and his attendance at college. Mackenzie wanted to chide him for making it a second priority to finding her, but she knew his heart was in the right place and decided to leave the topic be, for now. Seth prodded her about all she remembered, and Mackenzie simply told him she remembered nothing, just being sucked into that portal of light and then waking up in the car. Soon, they had finished their meals. So, Seth took the garbage from Mackenzie, added it to his, and went to place it in a nearby receptacle, before heading inside to relieve himself in the bathroom, fully intending on telling Mackenzie about their house, or lack thereof upon his return. But, as per usual, Seth couldn't help but eye the rack of newspapers as he went to exit the place, and paused to read the headline on the front page of the local newspaper. Odd mutilations, no explanations, the title read. Seth brought the paper, needing to show the details to his sister, waiting in the car, regarding the multiple mysterious homicides in the area with no explanations or leads, other than a suspect with a single blue eye. Seth knew that they had to follow up on this, and upon showing it to Mackenzie, she agreed. Within moments, the Torino was back on the highway again, headed towards Buffalo, New York, where a job only they could take on was waiting. The siblings had arrived at a small warehouse on the city limits and were greeted by what looked like an army of police and first responder vehicles. Luckily, Seth had never removed their wardrobe from the depths of the large trunk, and the two were prepared before they had even pulled in. Unsurprisingly, the authorities didn't even bat an eye at their badges. The siblings had gotten very good at impersonating the FBI and various other agencies over the years. Additionally, the scene was an absolute macabre massacre inside. The mutilated and dismembered corpses of at least 12 people, and from what the coroner could figure from all the pieces they were able to find so far. But no one was sure as of yet. This hadn't been the first in the area either. 6 more were found in a crack house not far into the city itself. The remains, nothing more than a few bloody chunks of meat and bone, and leftover pools of blood.
Just like last time, at least someone got a good look at the guy,
the cop said, as he walked them through the revolting scene that filled Mackenzie's and Seth's nostrils with the scent of death. The cop covered his face, but Seth and Mackenzie seemed to bear it just fine.
The smell doesn't bother you two, huh?
No, it's fucking disgusting. But in our line of work, you'd be surprised what you can get used to.
Mackenzie said in a listful tone, as if speaking more broadly than just about the situation at hand.
You said someone got a good look at the perp?
Seth questioned the cop.
Yep, sitting right over there, talking to my detective. He should be just about finished if you want to follow up.
The cop said, pointing to a young woman standing next to one of many police cars. Mackenzie agreed to go talk to the girl while Seth continued to analyze the scene. When the cop walked away to attend the reporters that had begun showing up, Seth bent down to investigate a pair of pants, still containing most of a leg. They had come to town to have a look at the crack house the cop had mentioned, but when this crime scene was announced over the scanner in the Torino, they knew they had to stop here first, before the police placed everything into evidence bags. As Seth pulled the wallet free from the pants and inspected its contents, he was happy they did, as it appeared his hunch was correct.
Excuse me, have any of you searched any of the crates in here? Specifically, those over there, still nailed shut?
Seth asked one of the deputies, who told him that they hadn't, but upon Seth's request, they agreed while he watched. Mackenzie, on the other hand, was just getting to know the young lady who had witnessed everything and somehow narrowly escaped with her life.
Working here has always been a bit strange, but I've learned to just keep my head down and earn my paycheck.
The young woman told Mackenzie.
Strange how?
I don't know, the higher-ups and most of the crew here is real secretive. Talking behind closed doors, weird night shipments that come in after hours, but again, nothing like today. Nothing like what that man did.
She explained further.
And what did this man do?
I can't explain it. This weird-looking guy with one bright blue eye walks in unannounced. And just when I think he's gonna be told to leave, he points, and everyone in the warehouse just stops, standing still and staring at this guy.
Okay. What happened next?
Everyone began screaming wildly, as if each was looking at something horrifying, something I couldn't see. And then they began attacking each other, horribly and violently. I hid through most of it, but the last remaining few, that had managed to avoid being torn apart by the others, were stopped by this man. Like statues, just by the flick of his hand, like freaking magic. Then they just exploded, like all over the place. I ran and I don't know if he saw me or not, but he didn't follow me. That's when I called the police.
Is there anything else? Anything at all?
Mackenzie asked, but the woman continued crying uncontrollably, nearly in hysterics.
Hey, Kens. I need to talk to you about something.
Seth said to his sister, now standing behind her. The siblings walked off on their own, towards the Torino, climbing in as Seth delivered what he had to say.
Those people back there, not good people.
Seth explained.
What do you mean?
Mackenzie asked, shutting the driver's side door as Seth followed suit.
Those crates we opened? Drugs, firearms, and even some evidence regarding human trafficking. These guys are up to no good.
Girl back there told me she thought something was up with that place, but never asked any questions. You thinking what I'm thinking?
If it's vigilante, then yes. Judging on the crack house massacre, now this, seems like someone's targeting criminals.
Probably why he spared Mary Sue back there. She likely had nothing to do with any of it.
So, what next?
Seth was about to bounce some ideas off Mackenzie when his phone rang. Holding up one finger, Seth pulled his phone out with his other hand and eyed the caller ID. It was Huck.
It's Huck. Listen, I haven't...
Huck began, but Mackenzie pulled the phone from Seth's hands before he could finish.
Yeah? Hello?
Mackenzie blurted into the phone.
Wait, I'm looking for Seth. Is that you, Mackenzie?
Huck asked, knowing the sound of his adopted niece's voice by heart.
God damn it, Mackenzie!
Seth blurted out, loud enough for Huck to hear him.
What in the name of Sam Adams? How?
Huck stammered, trying to find the words to the millions of questions racing through his mind.
Listen, I don't want to go over any details, but I don't want to dance around this issue either. Yes, I'm back. Yes, Seth did something stupid, but he assures me that everything went according to plan, and now I'm back. So just be happy, will ya? And try not to be too hard on Seth.
Mackenzie explained, causing Seth to go silent, listening to his sister defend his actions in a very Mackenzie sort of way.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I have a million questions, and Seth is sure going to answer them. But I'm happy you're back, Mackenzie. I want to see you as soon as possible. I'll throw a 12-pack on ice for you.
Huck said, genuinely more happy than anything to hear Mackenzie's voice again.
So, why did he call in the first place?
Seth asked Mackenzie, who in turn relayed his question to her uncle.
Well, I know that Seth should have been in the area, but there's a string of no good going on in and around Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, that's actually where we are now.
That's fantastic, because another lead on the guy who's been leaving the wet stuff just came over the scanner out that way. Maybe you guys can beat the locals there.
Where's that at, Huck?
The CRI Railroad Complex, off Hooper Ave on the east end.
Where on it, Huck?
Mackenzie said, filling Seth in as she threw money on the table, wrapping her burrito and tossing it into the Torino before her and her brother were off, making haste in an effort to beat the police to the scene. The neighborhood the Torino pulled up into wasn't the very best. Every building was run down and dilapidated, and neither sibling was able to tell who lived there and who was squatting. However, the old woman with silver hair that started waving them down as they got out of the car both pointed them in the direction of the scene and told them who had made the call to the police in the first place. There was a loud commotion coming from within the house that both Seth and Mackenzie could hear clearly, gunshots being fired, and this is why the woman had called the authorities, after seeing a man with a gleaming blue eye enter the home. Seth and Mackenzie immediately understood that the woman must have taken them for the actual police, as each were still wearing their clothes from earlier. Seth thanked the woman and told her to stay outside, while Mackenzie rushed by him and entered the home.
Some things never change,
Seth said out loud to himself.
What was that?
The woman asked him.
Nothing. I gotta give my partner some backup. Stay outside and stay back.
Seth told her once again, before rushing into the house to aid his sister. Once inside, however, Seth stopped and stood stock still, standing behind his sister, who was also taking in what she was seeing. In the corner of the room, was a man cowering in fear, lying on the ground beneath a tall, well-dressed man standing over top of him. Beside the man on the floor was a TV, and the standing, well-dressed man was pointing at it and making accusations to the one cowering and pleading for his life on the floor. Mackenzie and Seth had paused to both hear what the one was accusing the other of and watching what scenes were playing out on the television screen. It was him, the man on the floor. What was being shown on the screen were a sort of twisted home movie of this man's darkest deeds, clipped together in montage form. It was the man's deepest and most guarded secrets. The brutalization of women when he was a teen, matricide in his early adulthood, and flashes of multiple misdeeds done since, such as robberies and a hit and run, all played out in quick succession.
Hey, you!
Seth blurted out.
Oh, this man deserves what he has coming to him. You should see what he's done.
The man turned and said to Seth, a grin beneath his set of eyes, one glowing a bright blue.
No, please. You have to stop him. He wants to...
The man started, but Blue Eye cut him off.
What? Throw you into the past where your victims can exact their revenge? Stop whining and take what's coming to you.
Blue Eye stated with conviction.
Listen, but I don't know what your game is, but around here...
Mackenzie began speaking, but was cut off when the man with the blue eye simply closed his palm into a fist, and the one on the floor instantly exploded into a radius of blood and a few small, random chunks of meat and bone.
My God, that's disgusting!
Mackenzie blurted out, having been sprayed on her left side with blood and other body tissues, also shielding Seth from much of the blast.
Sorry, but your arrival was simply delaying the inevitable. Besides, now there's nothing to argue over.
Blue Eye reasoned.
You can't just go around killing people!
And why not? Seems to me that I just did. And from what I can tell, the world is better off for it. You're welcome.
The man smiled. Mackenzie opened her mouth to reply, but as she did, the sounds of police sirens began to fill her ears, and before they could reach a window to look, the sound of tires screeching to a halt outside followed right after.
Police, open up!
A man shouted from the other side of the door. Seth and Mackenzie looked at each other, not knowing what to do, and knowing how it looked. But before either could say a word in panicked frenzy, the blue-eyed man placed his hands on each of the twins' shoulders, and in one blinding flash of light, just as the sound of the door being smashed open reached their ears, the light subsided, and the three of them were instantly someplace else. Instead of the surroundings of the dilapidated house, or even a place indoors, each now stood within the center of a small park, unaware pedestrians going about their business on crisscrossing trails and walkways. It also helped that there didn't seem to be too many people around, and no one close by. Still, Seth and Mackenzie looked at each other astonished before bombarding the well-dressed blue-eyed man, whose one eye had now stopped glowing.
What the hell just happened? Did you just beam us out of there?
Mackenzie asked in shock and confusion.
I'm sorry, beam?
The blue-eyed man replied, not sure what she was referring to.
Yeah, like, teleported?
Seth explained.
Well, what I did was simply change the rotation of each atom in your body in a way that... You know what? Yeah, I teleported.
the man said, patronizing the pair.
But what about... You know what? Never mind. You can't just go around killing people, I think is the point I want to make here.
Wait. Because of some imaginary ethical code? Or because you're gonna stop me?
Listen, just come with us while we figure some things out. Something's coming and we need you to...
I'm not coming with you. I like you both. You're good people. And that's something I'm very good at judging. But we both have business to attend to. By the way, your car's parked over there.
Blue Eye stated, pointing towards a nearby road and a group of cars, including the Torino. It was at that moment that Seth's phone rang, and as he slid it from his back pocket, both he and Mackenzie eyed the screen. It was Huck.
Seth?
Mackenzie said, getting her brother's attention, looking back up to find that the man was gone.
Shit.
Well, found him once, we'll find him again.
The twins began walking toward the car as Seth answered Huck's call.
Hey, Huck. What's up?
I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up. I let your mother know what's going on.
What do you mean? What's going... Oh, wait, not that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. She's happy that her daughter's alive, but she's kind of pissed at you for doing something so foolish.
Well, I'll explain more the next time I talk to her. Thanks for the heads up, I suppose. We're on our way back now.
Did you stop him?
Well, kinda. And kinda no. I'll tell you more once we arrive.
Seth said, finishing up the call and hanging up before climbing into the passenger seat of the car beside his sister.
Who was that? Huck?
Yep. He told Mom.
She's pretty pissed at you, huh?
Yep. But on another topic... Now look at who's gunking up the car.
Seth said, changing the subject and pointing out Mackenzie's blood-soaked condition and its effect on the upholstery.
Listen, dweeb. It's mostly dried. Besides, it's used to monster blood, not monk and swamp water.
That guy wasn't a monster.
Yeah, he was. Did you see what that guy had done? If Mr. Blue-Eye didn't kill him, I might have.
I would have preferred to have let the authorities handle it.
Seth professed, and as the duo drove down the road, away from Buffalo, Seth argued his point. However, Seth knew there was something underneath, something he was doing his best not to acknowledge. It was something he'd been feeling all day, ever since he'd rescued Mackenzie the previous night, in fact. He told Mackenzie he wanted the cops to take the man in, to let them decide his fate. But in reality, Seth had a burning urge to kill him, or hurt him, for everything that he had done and wanted to do. But it was more than that. It was like there was a black spot inside him, deep within. And with each passing moment, it was growing, ever so slightly. Mackenzie was cunning and observant, but he had done a well enough job to hide it even from her. Still, as the Torino lunged at high speeds over the back roads of New York, Seth wondered how long that would last.
Well, this story's road is sure taking a sharp turn. Will Seth and Mackenzie catch up with Blue Eye and foil his other half's master plan? And what other menaces may stand in their way? You won't have to wait too long, because Confronting Evil returns next month.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.